Admiral Krezov stood on the bridge of his massive warship, his scaled hands clasped behind his back. Through the view screen, he watched the small blue planet grow larger. Earth, the latest target of the Draconian Empire. Pathetic, he hissed, forked tongue flicking between sharp teeth. They have barely reached their own moon. This conquest will be swift. Behind him, his officers worked silently at their stations. No one questioned Admiral Krezov. His record spoke for itself. 27 worlds conquered, 0 defeats. Earth would be number 28. The Draconian fleet had first detected Earth's radio signals 70 years ago. The signals were primitive, but they indicated intelligent life. The Empire always sought new worlds to bring under their control, new resources to exploit, new species to subjugate. Send the probes, Krezov ordered. I want complete data on their military capabilities before we reveal ourselves. 6 sleek, black probes shot from the fleet, speeding toward Earth. They were designed to be invisible to primitive radar systems. The Draconians were confident humans would never detect them. On Earth, Dr. Alan Wright yawned as he stared at the computer screen in his office at the NASA Deep Space Monitoring Station. The midnight shift was always boring. He sipped his coffee and glanced at the data streaming in from the Neptune observation program. That's odd, he muttered, sitting up straight. He adjusted his glasses and typed rapidly. Computer, analyze anomaly in Sector 7. The computer beeped as it processed his request. The results made Alan's heart race. He picked up the phone immediately. Get me Director Nelson right away. This is an emergency. 4 hours later, Lisa Bennett aimed the new quantum telescope at the coordinates Alan had provided. As the head astronomer at the Mauna Kea Observatory, she had been skeptical when they woke her in the middle of the night. Now, her hands trembled as she looked at the images. My God, she whispered. Those aren't asteroids or comets. Those are ships, massive ships. She sent the images to Washington immediately. In the Pentagon, General Frank Harper looked at the photos spread across the table. His face remained calm, but inside, his mind raced. 20 government officials sat around him, all wearing expressions of shock or disbelief. Ladies and gentlemen, he said, it appears we are not alone in the universe, and our visitors have arrived with quite a fleet. How did we even spot them? Asked a man in a dark suit. If they have this technology, surely they could hide from our telescopes. Dr. Wright cleared his throat. We got lucky. One of their vessels created a gravitational distortion that affected Neptune's rings. That's what caught my attention. Then Dr. Bennett used the new quantum telescope to get these images. The President's National Security Advisor leaned forward. What are our options, General? Limited, Harper admitted. We have no weapons that could reach them. They're still near Neptune, but they're moving toward us. Back on the Draconian flagship, Admiral Krezov reviewed the probe data with growing confidence. Their weapons are primitive. Nuclear missiles and projectile weapons. Nothing that can harm our fleet, he told his officers. Their military is divided by nation-states. They have no unified defense. His second-in-command, Commander Vrex, pointed at the screen. They did detect our probes, Admiral. Their quantum technology is more advanced than we anticipated. Krezov dismissed this with a wave of his clawed hand. A minor concern. They detected us, yes, but they can do nothing about it. Prepare the first wave attack. We will destroy an uninhabited area as a demonstration of our power. Then they will surrender, as all primitive species do. The Draconian fleet accelerated, moving from Neptune toward Earth in a perfect formation. Thousands of warships, each one capable of destroying an entire city. On Earth, as governments worldwide were quietly informed of the situation, General Harper looked out the window at the night sky. I hope we're ready, he said quietly, because ready or not, they're coming. Above him, invisible to the naked eye, the Draconian fleet moved closer, confident in their coming victory. They had conquered hundreds of worlds before. Earth would be no different. or so they thought. The Draconian fleet positioned itself behind the moon, hidden from Earth's direct view. Admiral Krezoth smiled as he reviewed the final attack plans. "Begin jamming their communications," he ordered. "Then send the scout ships to assess their major military installations." Within minutes, cell phones across Earth went dead. Internet connections failed. Television and radio broadcasts turned to static. Panic began to spread. Lieutenant Peter Collins was on patrol in the Pacific Ocean aboard the U.S. Defender when the communications went down. He looked up from the radar screen and saw his captain's worried face. "Sir, there's something strange on the radar. It's moving too fast to be an aircraft." Before the captain could respond, a dark shape passed overhead. It was shaped like an arrowhead, with no visible engines. It moved silently across the sky and disappeared over the horizon. Similar reports came in from around the world. Strange craft flying over military bases, objects hovering over major cities, all while global communications remained down. In Colorado, Air Force Captain Susan Rodriguez received emergency orders to intercept an unidentified aircraft. She climbed into her F-35 fighter jet and took off with 3 other pilots. "Target at 12 o'clock," she reported as they approached the strange craft. "I've never seen anything like it." The object was smooth, with a metallic surface that seemed to shift colors like oil on water. It made no attempt to evade the fighters as they approached. "This is the United States Air Force," Susan broadcast. "Identify yourself immediately." In response, the craft emitted a pulse of blue light. Instantly, all 4 fighter jets lost power. Their engines died, and they began to fall. Susan struggled with the controls. Nothing responded. She pulled the emergency ejection handle just as her jet began to spin toward the ground. Her parachute opened, and she watched helplessly as her plane crashed into an empty field. In the distance, she saw the other pilots floating down safely in their parachutes. The alien craft hovered briefly, as if observing them, then shot upward and vanished. On the Draconian flagship, Admiral Krezoth reviewed the scout ship's data. "Their aircraft are more advanced than expected," he noted with mild surprise. "But still no match for even our smallest vessels. Proceed with the demonstration." One of the larger Draconian warships moved into position above a small, uninhabited island in the Pacific. A beam of intense green light shot downward. The island glowed brightly for a moment, then vanished completely, leaving only churning ocean where land had been. Global satellites, still functioning despite the communications blackout, captured the event. Governments around the world viewed the footage with horror. At the United Nations emergency session, world leaders gathered to discuss the crisis. The communications jamming had been bypassed using old shortwave radio technology, allowing for limited contact. U.S. President Kate Winters addressed the assembly, her face grave but determined. "We are clearly facing a technologically superior force," she said, "but humanity will not surrender. We must unite as never before." The Draconian message came an hour later. It was broadcast on all frequencies, appearing on every working screen and speaker. "People of Earth," Admiral Krezoth's reptilian face filled screens worldwide. "You have witnessed a small demonstration of our power. We are the Draconian Empire, and we claim this world as our own. Surrender within 24 hours, or we will destroy your major cities one by one. Your primitive weapons cannot harm us. Resistance is futile and will only lead to unnecessary deaths." The message ended, leaving stunned silence in its wake. In the Pentagon War Room, General Harper turned to his assembled team of military leaders and scientists. "We have 24 hours. I need options." Dr. Alan Wright spoke up. "Sir, I've been analyzing their energy signatures. There might be a weakness in their shield technology." Professor William Garcia, a physicist from MIT, nodded in agreement. "If we can reverse engineer their technology from the data we've collected, we might have a chance." General Harper looked around the room. "Then let's get to work. The world is counting on us." As the deadline approached, humanity prepared not for surrender, but for resistance. The 24-hour deadline passed. No surrender message came from Earth. Admiral Krezov paced on the bridge of his flagship, his tail swishing in agitation. They refused to surrender. These humans are more foolish than I thought. He turned to his weapons officer. Begin the first wave of attacks. Target their military bases. 300 Draconian attack ships descended toward Earth. They moved with perfect precision, each heading toward a different military installation around the globe. But as they entered Earth's atmosphere, something unexpected happened. Near a naval base in Norfolk, a hidden battery of strange-looking weapons activated. They fired beams of pulsing blue energy at the approaching Draconian ships. To the astonishment of the Draconian pilots, their shields flickered and failed. 2 ships crashed into the ocean. 3 more veered away damaged. Similar scenes played out at military bases worldwide. The Draconians had expected easy victories. Instead, their ships were falling. At MIT, Professor William Garcia monitored the data coming in from around the world. 3 days earlier, one of the Draconian scout ships had crashed in the Arizona desert after a lightning strike damaged it. The professor and his team had worked nonstop to understand the alien technology. "The countermeasures are working," he exclaimed, watching the displays. "Their shield frequency is vulnerable to our pulse weapons." The professor had discovered that the Draconian shields operated on a specific energy frequency. By creating weapons that emitted energy on exactly the opposite frequency, they could disrupt the alien shields. In Washington, General Harper watched the battle unfold on the Situation Room screens. "How many of these pulse weapons do we have?" "Only 50, answered a colonel. "But we're building more as fast as we can." Not all human defenses were succeeding. In many locations, Draconian ships were still devastating military bases, but they were taking losses, something that had never happened in their previous conquests. Outside San Diego, Marine Captain John Martinez led his Special Forces team through the wreckage of a downed Draconian ship. They moved cautiously, weapons ready. "Movement ahead," whispered one of his soldiers. In the shadowy interior of the crashed ship, they found a wounded Draconian. The alien was nearly 7 feet tall, with dark green scales and yellow eyes with vertical pupils. It wore armor that seemed to shift colors to match its surroundings. The Draconian reached for a weapon, but was too weak from its injuries. Martinez approached carefully. "We need it alive," he told his team. "Secure the prisoner." At a secure facility in Colorado, Dr. Elizabeth Ross examined tissue samples from the captured Draconian. As a xenobiologist, she had trained for years to understand alien life, though she never truly believed she would use that knowledge. "Fascinating," she murmured, looking through her microscope. "Their cellular structure reacts negatively to many Earth bacteria. They have no immunity to our microbial life." She typed rapidly on her computer, documenting her findings. This could be a significant weakness. On the Draconian flagship, Admiral Krezov received the reports of their losses with growing rage. "How is this possible?" he roared. Their technology was primitive. Commander Vrex spoke carefully, aware of the Admiral's dangerous mood. "It seems they had hidden capabilities, Admiral, and they're adapting quickly to our technology." "Impossible." Krezov slammed his fist on the control panel. "No species has ever adapted so quickly. Send the second wave, double the attack force." In the holding cell, Junior Officer Screeth regained consciousness. The young Draconian officer looked around in confusion at the strange room. 2 humans stood guard outside the transparent barrier. Screeth had been taught that humans were primitive, violent creatures that needed the guidance of the Draconian Empire. But these humans had treated his wounds. They had given him water. When Dr. Ross entered the room to check on him, Screeth watched her with curiosity rather than hatred. "You're not what I expected," he said in the human language, surprising Dr. Ross. "Neither are you," she replied cautiously. As the second wave of Draconian ships prepared to attack Earth, Neither side realized that this exchange would eventually change everything. The second wave of Draconian ships darkened the skies over major cities. This time, they came with ground troops. Thousands of Draconian soldiers in battle armor dropped from the ships, expecting to find terrified humans ready to surrender. Instead, they found resistance everywhere. In Chicago, police officer Daniel Baker had organized his neighborhood into a defensive unit. They had barricaded the streets and prepared homemade weapons based on plans distributed by the military. "Remember, aim for the joints in their armor," Daniel told the group of civilians. "The pulse rifles the military gave us can penetrate their armor, but we don't have many. Make each shot count." The first Draconian patrol rounded the corner. Daniel signaled, and his group sprayed the aliens with water cannons. The Draconians stumbled back, their scales turning pale with what looked like pain. "Now," Daniel shouted. His team fired their pulse rifles, dropping 3 Draconians before the others retreated. Similar scenes played out across the globe. The Draconians had expected an easy conquest, but found humans fighting with unexpected creativity and determination. In rural Wyoming, hunter Grace Miller moved silently through the forest. She had been tracking a group of Draconians for 2 days. Unlike the soldiers in the cities, these seemed to be scientists, collecting samples from the environment. Grace watched through her binoculars as one of the aliens removed its helmet to examine a flower more closely. Almost immediately, the Draconian began to cough and struggle for breath. She recorded everything on her phone and transmitted the footage to the military using the emergency broadcast system. At the research facility in Colorado, Dr. Ross received Grace's video with excitement. "This confirms my theory," she told Captain Martinez. "Earth's bacteria and pollen are toxic to them. They have no immunity to our world." She turned to Junior Officer Screeth, who was now cooperating with the humans. "Is this why your people always wear armor when conquering new worlds?" Screeth nodded. "All species are weak to foreign microbes, but never this weak. Your world is unusually hostile to Draconian biology." Dr. Ross worked through the night, developing a non-lethal weapon that would use this weakness. By morning, she had created a spray containing harmless Earth bacteria and pollen that would temporarily incapacitate Draconians without killing them. In a high school laboratory in Iowa, science teacher Paul Newman worked with his students to create improvised weapons effective against Draconian armor. They had discovered that simple vinegar caused a chemical reaction with the alien metal, weakening it enough for regular bullets to penetrate. "Keep working," Paul encouraged his students. "Every discovery helps protect our town." On the Draconian flagship, Admiral Krezoth received alarming reports from his ground forces. "The humans are adapting too quickly," reported a field commander. "They're finding weaknesses in our armor and tactics that took other species years to discover." Commander Vrex spoke up cautiously. "Admiral, perhaps we should withdraw and reassess. This planet's environment is hostile to our biology. Many soldiers are falling ill simply from exposure to the atmosphere." Krezoth's eyes narrowed with fury. "Withdraw. The Draconian Empire does not retreat." With a swift motion, he drew his weapon and fired. Commander Vrex fell dead. Krezoth turned to his stunned officers. "Any other suggestions of cowardice will be met the same way. Send more troops to the surface. We will crush these humans with numbers, if nothing else." In the Colorado facility, Junior Officer Screeth watched recordings of the ground battles with growing concern. "Your people fight differently than any species we've encountered," he told Dr. Ross. "Most species try to match our technology. You adapt and find unexpected solutions." Dr. Ross nodded. "It's what humans do best. We've been adapting to survive on Earth for thousands of years." She hesitated, then asked, "How many worlds has the Empire conquered?" 327. Screeth replied. "None have successfully resisted." "Until now," Dr. Ross said quietly. The young Draconian looked at her with an unreadable expression. "Yes, until now." Outside, the battle for Earth continued to rage. with neither side willing to surrender. 2 weeks into the invasion, things began to change. Humans were no longer just defending. They were fighting back. Retired engineer Olivia Carter worked in her basement with a team of amateur radio operators. They had discovered a way to jam Draconian communications. The frequency modulation is the key, she explained to the military officers who had come to see her work. Their ships all communicate on the same basic frequency. We can disrupt it with enough power. Within days, Olivia's jamming technology was deployed worldwide. Suddenly, Draconian ships couldn't coordinate their attacks. They flew into each other or fired on their own troops by mistake. In a college dorm room, Sam Wilson led a group of international hackers who had been working nonstop. Their faces were pale from lack of sleep, but their eyes shone with excitement. "We're in," Sam shouted as code flashed across his screen. "We've accessed their ship systems." The hackers had found a way into the Draconian computer networks. It wasn't enough to take control of the ships, but they could mess with life support systems, door controls, and navigation. Across the globe, Draconian ships began experiencing strange malfunctions. Doors trapped soldiers in corridors. Life support systems created uncomfortable temperature changes. Navigation systems sent ships in circles. At NASA's Johnson Space Center, pilot Laura Mitchell prepared for the most dangerous mission of her life. She stood before a small, captured Draconian scout ship, now modified with human technology. "The controls are still mostly alien," a technician warned her. "But Junior Officer Screeth has taught us the basics. You'll have to learn the rest during flight." Laura nodded, her face serious. "I can handle it." Her mission: fly the captured ship to the Draconian fleet and gather intelligence on their main weapon systems. In the Pentagon War Room, General Harper revealed a secret that shocked the civilian leaders present. "Ladies and gentlemen, for 60 years, the world's governments have been quietly preparing for this possibility." He pressed a button, and a holographic display showed hidden facilities around the world. After the Roswell incident in 1947, world leaders realized we might not be alone. A secret program was established to develop technologies that could defend Earth from potential threats. President Winters stared at the display. "Are you telling me we have advanced spacecraft?" "Yes, Madam President. Not as advanced as the Draconians, but far beyond what the public knows about. We've kept them hidden, hoping we'd never need them." "Deploy them," the President ordered without hesitation. High above Earth, Admiral Krezoth received an urgent message. "Admiral, we're detecting new energy signatures launching from Earth. They appear to be spacecraft." "Impossible," Krezoth snarled. "Their technology isn't capable of." His words cut off as the view screen showed sleek, black ships rising from hidden bases on Earth. They were smaller than Draconian vessels, but moved with incredible speed and agility. "How?" he whispered in shock. "Our intelligence indicated they had no space combat capabilities." The human ships engaged the Draconian fleet, using hit-and-run tactics. They couldn't match the aliens in direct combat, but they were fast enough to strike and retreat before the larger ships could respond. In his cell, Junior Officer Screeth watched footage of the battle with Dr. Ross. "Your ships," he said quietly. "They're using technology similar to ours, but modified." Dr. Ross nodded. "The crashed ship we recovered in 1947 gave us a starting point. We've been reverse engineering it ever since." Screeth turned to her. "Admiral Krezoth needs to be stopped. He won't retreat, even if it means sacrificing the entire fleet. But I know how to find his flagship." "You'd help us?" Dr. Ross asked, surprised. "I joined the Empire to explore new worlds, not destroy them," Screeth replied. "What we're doing here is wrong." Dr. Ross immediately contacted General Harper. Within hours, a plan was forming. They would use Screeth's knowledge to locate the Draconian flagship and launch a targeted strike. As Laura Mitchell piloted her stolen ship toward the Draconian fleet, humanity prepared for its most daring move yet. Laura Mitchell's stolen Draconian ship drifted silently through the enemy fleet. From the outside, it looked like any other scout ship returning from Earth. Inside, Laura's hands were sweaty on the controls as she followed Screeth's instructions transmitted from Earth. "Keep your power signature low," his voice crackled through her headset. "Turn 30 degrees to your right. The flagship should be visible now." Laura gasped as the massive Draconian command ship came into view. It was enormous, nearly a mile long, with weapons ports covering its surface. She activated the special cameras Professor Garcia had installed to record detailed images of the flagship's layout. "I see it," she whispered. "Beginning scan now." Behind her ship, Earth's secret space fleet engaged the Draconian vessels in a coordinated attack. They weren't trying to win, just to distract the enemy while Laura completed her mission. Commander Richard Evans led the human fleet in the U.S. Defiant, the largest of Earth's hidden spacecraft. "All ships, attack pattern Delta," he ordered. "Remember, we just need to keep their attention for 20 minutes. The human ships darted between the larger Draconian vessels, firing pulse weapons that disrupted the alien shields. They couldn't destroy many enemy ships, but they created chaos and confusion. One Draconian destroyer spotted Laura's ship and became suspicious of its flight pattern. It fired a warning shot across her bow. "I've been spotted," Laura reported calmly, though her heart pounded in her chest. Continuing mission. She completed the scan just as a tractor beam locked onto her ship. With a skilled maneuver she'd practiced for days, Laura fired her engines at maximum power and spun the ship in a tight spiral. The tractor beam lost its grip, and she dived toward Earth at dangerous speed. 3 Draconian fighters pursued her. Laura weaved between them, using the smaller ship's agility to stay ahead of their weapons fire. One shot grazed her ship, sending it spinning. "I'm hit," she reported, "but still flying. Data transmission beginning now." The critical scans of the flagship transmitted to Earth even as Laura fought to control her damaged ship. She managed to reach the upper atmosphere before her engines failed completely. As the ship began to fall, she ejected, her parachute opening as the stolen vessel crashed into the ocean. On Earth, Professor Garcia and his team immediately began analyzing the data Laura had sent. "There," he pointed to a spot on the 3D model of the flagship. "That's their main power core. If we can hit it with our experimental weapon, we might create a cascade failure." The professor had developed a device that created localized disruptions in spacetime. A miniature-controlled black hole that would last for just seconds before collapsing. It was theoretical and untested in combat. General Harper looked skeptical. "And how do we deliver this weapon?" "We need a team to board the flagship," Garcia replied. "It has to be placed directly on the power core housing." The room fell silent as everyone realized what this meant. A suicide mission. On the Draconian flagship, Admiral Krezoth watched the battle with growing fury. The human ships were primitive compared to his fleet, but they fought with unexpected skill and coordination. "How are they communicating through our jamming?" he demanded. "How do they know our weak points?" "Admiral," a junior officer reported nervously, "we've detected a transmission from one of our scout ships to Earth. It contained detailed scans of our flagship." Krezoth's eyes narrowed to slits. "A spy. Find that ship and destroy it." "Too late, Admiral. It already reached Earth's atmosphere." Krezoth slammed his fist on his command chair. "Prepare the planet killer weapon. I've had enough of these humans. If we can't have this world, no one will." The planet killer was the Draconian Empire's most fearsome weapon, capable of breaking a planet apart from the inside out. It had only been used twice in the Empire's long history, against civilizations that had nearly defeated them. "But Admiral," protested a senior officer, "the Emperor must approve use of the planet killer." "The Emperor is 50 light-years away," Krezoth snarled. "By the time our message reaches him, this battle will be long over. Begin the charging sequence." As the deadly weapon began to power up, Earth prepared its desperate counterstrike. Junior Officer Screeth's voice was urgent as he spoke to the assembled human leaders. "The planet killer weapon will destroy your entire world. We have less than 6 hours before it's fully charged. President Winters turned to General Harper. What are our options? We need to board that flagship and plant Professor Garcia's device on their power core, the general replied. It's our only chance. Captain John Martinez stepped forward. My team volunteers for the mission. Beside him, Chicago police officer Daniel Baker nodded. I'll go too. I've studied the Draconian ship layouts more than anyone except Screeth. Within an hour, a strike team was assembled. 12 humans with diverse skills, all volunteers. They knew the odds of returning were slim. Dr. Ross approached Screeth. We need you on this mission. No one knows that ship like you do. The Draconian looked conflicted. If I'm captured, the penalty for treason is death by slow torture. Without you, Earth dies, she said simply. After a moment, Screeth nodded. I will help you. The team boarded a modified Draconian shuttle, disguised to look like it was returning from a ground mission. Professor Garcia's device, about the size of a backpack, was secured in a special container. The device is set to create a localized disruption in space-time, Garcia explained. Once activated, you'll have 3 minutes to get as far away as possible before it collapses into itself. Captain Martinez nodded grimly. Understood. As the shuttle launched, Laura Mitchell's voice came over the radio. Despite her recent ordeal, she had insisted on being their remote pilot. I'll guide you through their security net, she said. Just follow my instructions exactly. The shuttle approached the massive Draconian fleet, looking like just another returning vessel among hundreds. Laura's expert guidance helped them avoid suspicious patrol ships. Transmitting the clearance code Screeth provided, she reported. They've accepted them. You're clear to dock in Bay 73. The shuttle slipped into the flagship's docking bay without incident. As the team prepared to disembark, Screeth gave final instructions. The power core is 5 levels down, at the center of the ship. We'll need to avoid the main corridors where we'll be seen. The team moved through maintenance shafts and rarely used passages. When they encountered Draconian soldiers, Daniel and John took the lead, using Dr. Ross's biological spray to incapacitate them without raising alarms. 3 levels down, they faced a heavily guarded checkpoint. There was no way around it. We need a distraction, Martins whispered. Dr. Ross had prepared for this. She activated a remote signal that triggered dozens of false alarms throughout the ship. As guards rushed to respond, the team slipped through. On the bridge, Admiral Krasoth received reports of system malfunctions across the ship. It's the humans, he growled. They're here. Find them. The strike team reached the level above the power core when everything went wrong. A squad of elite Draconian guards spotted them and opened fire. Martins took a hit to his shoulder, but kept moving. 2 team members fell, providing covering fire so the others could reach their objective. Go, one shouted as he held off the pursuing guards. We'll buy you time. The remaining team members, including Screeth, Martinez, and Baker, finally reached the massive power core chamber. It pulsed with blue-green energy, connected to the planet-killer weapon by thick conduits. There, Screeth pointed. That's where the device must go. More guards burst into the chamber. Daniel and the remaining team members engaged them while Martins and Screeth rushed toward the power core with Professor Garcia's device. A blast hit Martinez in the leg. He stumbled but kept going, dragging himself the last few meters. With Screeth's help, he placed the device against the power core housing and activated it. A soft hum filled the air as the device powered up. The space around it seemed to waver and bend. It's working, Screeth said. We need to get out now. Martinez looked at his wounded leg, then at the distance to the exit where Daniel was still fighting. I won't make it. Get the others out. Screeth hesitated, then grabbed Martinez by his armor. Draconians don't leave allies behind. That's one thing I've learned from humans. With unexpected strength, Screeth lifted the wounded captain and headed for the exit as the countdown to Earth's salvation or destruction continued. Screeth carried Captain Martinez through the corridors of the flagship as alarms blared. Daniel Baker and the 3 remaining team members provided cover fire as they retreated toward their shuttle. 2 minutes until the device activates. Martinez gasped through his pain. On the bridge, Admiral Krazoth received the report that intruders had reached the power core. What did they do? He demanded. They attached an unknown device to the core housing. A technician reported. It's causing strange energy readings. Shut down the core. Krazoth ordered. We can't, Admiral. The planet killer weapon is drawing too much power. If we shut down now, the feedback could destroy the ship. Krazoth's scales darkened with rage. Evacuate essential personnel to secondary ships. I will remain on the bridge. As the human team reached their shuttle, they found their path blocked by a squad of elite Draconian guards. They were trapped. We'll never make it, Daniel said grimly, checking his weapons charge. Not all of us, anyway. Suddenly, a group of Draconian officers appeared behind the guards. To everyone's surprise, they opened fire on their own troops. Hurry, called the lead officer. We heard what Krazoth plans to do. Not all Draconians support destroying inhabited worlds. This small rebellion gave the humans the chance they needed. They rushed aboard their shuttle as Screeth exchanged quick words with the rebellious officers. There are others who think like you, the officer told Screeth. The Empire has lost its way. Go now. Laura Mitchell's voice came through the shuttle's communications. Launch immediately. I'm clearing a path for you. The human fleet had created a corridor through the Draconian ships, targeting specific vessels based on Screeth's intelligence. The shuttle shot through this gap, racing away from the flagship. Behind them, the strange distortion around Professor Garcia's device intensified. Space itself seemed to fold and bend around the flagship's power core. The effect spread, engulfing the massive ship. Admiral Krazoth stood on his bridge, watching the distortion consume his ship. For the first time in his long career, he felt fear. As the laws of physics worked around him, the Admiral and his flagship began to break apart at the atomic level. The effect spread to nearby Draconian ships. Some were pulled into small temporary wormholes that closed as quickly as they formed. Others simply vanished. Within minutes, over half the Draconian fleet had disappeared. The remaining Draconian ships, now without leadership or coordination, found themselves surrounded by Earth's forces. One by one, they powered down their weapons. From the shuttle, Screeth watched his former fleet crumble. I never imagined this outcome. In 300 years of conquest, the Empire has never been defeated. There's a first time for everything, Martinez said weakly, as Dr. Ross treated his wounds. 1 week later, the captured Draconian ships had been boarded and secured. Over 10,000 Draconian soldiers and crew were now prisoners of war. To everyone's surprise, many expressed relief rather than anger at their capture. In the White House, President Winters addressed the United Nations via video link. Today, I am announcing the formation of the Earth Defense Force. Using the technology we've acquired, we will build a fleet to protect our planet from any future threats. She paused, then continued, but we will also reach out in peace. Junior Officer Screeth has agreed to serve as our ambassador to other alien civilizations. In a hospital room, Captain Martinez watched the speech on television. Screeth stood by his bed, now wearing specially designed clothing rather than armor. The Draconian databases contained information on dozens of other species, Screeth said. Many have suffered under the Empire's expansion. They will welcome contact with humans. And what about the Draconians who escaped? Martinez asked. They will report our defeat to the Emperor, Screeth replied. For the first time, the Empire will have to reconsider its policy of endless conquest. Dr. Ross entered the room with exciting news. The biological samples show that Draconians who've been exposed to Earth's environment for more than 2 weeks are developing immunities. Over time, they could live here without protective gear. Outside the hospital window, construction crews worked on a new project. Using Draconian anti-gravity technology, they were building Earth's first true space dock. What happens now? Martins asked, looking at the activity. Screeth gazed at the sky. Now, humanity takes its place among the stars, and everything changes.